Now, in this section, we're actually going to look at how the participants arrive and how the host lets them into the meeting. So we're ready to go now. People are starting to arrive, okay? So people are starting to arrive, and what basically happens is they're now sitting in a waiting room. So you may remember when we scheduled the meeting, we set up the option to say we were allowing a waiting room to be there. So the awaiting room, as I've mentioned before, is very, very useful because it allows you as the participant to see who's arriving into the meeting, and you can check your list because most of the time when you're running your meetings, you know who's supposed to be attending. So you can look down the list and you can see the names and you can literally check them off as people are sitting in the waiting room. If there's anyone in the waiting room that you don't recognise or shouldn't be attending the meeting, well then, as you open up the door, you cannot admit them. You just don't let them turn in, okay? So it's very, very useful. What it also does is, as well, as I mentioned before, it gives you as the host a couple of minutes to get yourself ready before you actually start the meeting. So what will happen is, as the participants have clicked the join meeting link, and it basically tries to bring them into the Zoom meeting, they will get a little message up on the screen to tell them that please wait, the host will let you in soon, okay? So they'll see that message, so they can be sitting there watching that, and then, as I said, when you're ready and you let them in, they're let into the room, okay? So I suppose we better go and let them in. Now, so what happens now is, you as the host, this is your toolbar, as I mentioned before. Yours is a little bit different to everybody else's. But you'll see there's a button there that says Manage Participants. And while you're waiting for the event to start and for you to open the room and let them in, the number of participants here will change. So that number will keep going up and up and up and up, depending on how many people were invited. So basically what you do is, as the host, you click on that button there and it gives you a screen where it shows you how many people are waiting to attend the meeting. So in the bottom section here, you will see how many people are waiting. And once the meeting is ready to open, then you have a choice. Do you want to admit them one by one, or do you want to admit them all? Okay. So generally what I do is, if the meeting is set to start at 7 o'clock in the evening or whatever it is, I wait until 7 o'clock on the button. And at that point then I can see everybody who is ready to attend. And I generally, after I've checked down the list and I'm happy that everyone has been invited, I simply press admit all. And once I do that, everybody starts to come into the room. And what you'll see then is the names of the people who are coming into the actual meeting will start to appear down the bottom here. So they're now participants in the meeting, okay? So it's really, really good, and it means that you've kind of got an eye on what's happening. So then once everybody has arrived in and you're happy that you've got everyone who's supposed to attend, at that point then you need to go and lock the door, as I mentioned earlier on. So you'll press your security button on your toolbar, you'll come up and you'll click lock the door, and once you do that, the door is locked and the meeting has started. So we're ready to start the meeting now, okay? So once the meeting starts, what we're going to have a look at then is some of the tools that we can use. So there's quite a few tools that come with Zoom, which are very, very useful when you're actually participating in a meeting. Now, sometimes it'll generally be the host that will use all of these tools, but from time to time you can give the option to some of the participants if you want to allow them to do that as well. But for the host, it's really, really useful, and it's very, very important to be able to use these tools. So some of the ones that we're going to have a look at is we've got the chat. We're going to look at sharing a screen. We're going to look at sharing a YouTube video. We're going to look at sharing an iPhone or an iPad. And we're going to look at sharing the whiteboard. And it's all very, very straightforward. So we'll have a look at the chat first. So I'm sure lots of you are using chat in other applications, in Messenger and WhatsApp. Well, this is very, very similar, okay? So what basically happens is we've got a chat button down the bottom on our toolbar down there. And you simply click on the chat, and once you click on the chat button, you can chat to either the host privately or to everybody who is attending the meeting. It's entirely up to yourself. So what you need to do is, once you've pressed the chat button, this little screen here appears up in front of you. And the first thing that you need to see is, who are you going to chat to? Now, it automatically defaults to everybody. But if you don't want to chat to everybody, you want to chat to John, Mary, or the host, you simply click on the drop down arrow there beside the word everybody, and it gives a list of all the participants. And if it's Kim, the host, or John or Mary or whoever it is you want to speak or to message, you simply go down and click on their name. And once you do that, their name appears there. And then you simply click in the box here and you type your message, okay? So it's just something that you need to be aware of. Always be aware of. If you don't change the name, the message goes to everybody, which is fine. But just to be aware of that, okay? Now, another little feature which I think is very, very useful in here, it allows you to actually send some files, and this can be quite useful during a meeting, okay? So again, where you find it is in chat, and now chat's not the most obvious place if you were thinking, I want to send a file to somebody, but that's basically where you find it, okay? So if you have a look there on your screen, you'll see there's a little icon on the right-hand side, and it looks like a little picture of a page. So that's the little button that we're going to press. And once we press that button, we get this toolbar appears. And basically what this is saying to us is, okay, you want to send a file, and where is the file on your computer that you want to send, okay? So it's asking you, is it on Dropbox, if you've got Dropbox in your machine? Is it Microsoft OneDrive? Is it Google Drive? Is it Box? Or if not, is it just in your computer, okay? So if it is, you just simply select whichever one you want. So most people, it will probably be on your computer, and you'll simply click on that. And once you click on that, it browses to your computer, and you can then select where the file is, okay? Now, the thing that you need to remember when you're doing this, again, it's a bit like the chat. You can see there's a little message box down here. So if we were to pick up the file and we were going to send it, at the minute, it's defaulted to send the file to everybody. And as the host, probably 9 times out of 10, you're sending it to everybody at the meeting. But if it wasn't everybody at the meeting, if it was only one particular person you wanted to send it to, remember, you need to change it here. My advice would be to change it here. And then once you've changed, pick your file, type in your message. And once you do that, it sends. So it's as simple as that, okay? I do find sometimes people will say to me that they can't find this option in the chat. Sometimes it's actually not set up as a standard setting, but when we look at the web browser at the end, you'll see how to turn things on and off. So if you're looking to do this now and you just can't see it, the chances are it isn't set to on, and I'm going to show you how to do that, okay? So then the next thing that you might want to do is you might want to give the host a bit of attention. Like, you as the participant might want to get the attention of the host, because as we said earlier on, everybody has their mics muted, okay? So you could unmute your mic and ask a question, but sometimes people don't like to do that. They just maybe want to raise their hand or send a little symbol to the host so that the host can see that somebody wants to speak to them, okay? So for you to do that, you're going to do it through the chat, and you're going to basically press a little button, which I'll show you now in a second. For the host to see it, what happens is it pops up in the Manage Participant. The Manage Participant screen flashes in front of the host, and when they simply click on that button there, they will see who wants to speak to them. There'll be a little raised hand beside somebody's name, and that's how it works. For you as the participant, you will go in, as I said, into your chat. And when you're in your chat, you'll see these little buttons down the bottom here. So you've got a raise hand, you've got a yes, a no, a go slow, go faster, or you have the 3 little dots, which when we press this will give us more options. The options that it gives you are an up and down, a clap, a cup of coffee or tea, and a clock. So you can click whatever one of those you want, and once you do that, it is sent directly to the host, okay? So we're going to leave it at that for the moment, and then in the next little session, we're going to look at sharing a screen during a meeting. And thank you very much for your time.